We'll go to the back and then we'll come to you. So, yeah.
Me?
Yeah, please.
Oh, when you get rid of the ATF, is that, you would just convert that into a convenience store?
How about we convert it into just a hole in the ground? We got to commemorate that before we build something on top, because we got to remember all the wrong that was actually done. This is an agency that's fundamentally hostile to the Second Amendment. Not only is the administrative state, the existence of three-letter agencies, most of them are unconstitutional. This is an unconstitutional agency that's further engaging in unconstitutional assault on the Second Amendment itself, the one amendment that protects all the others, which we sometimes forget. It's not about hunting and sport shooting. It's about all of the other amendments. That's what the Second Amendment's really about. It's about tyranny.
How are they arbitrarily?
How are they doing it?
Law?
They're just making it up. Bump stock ban, you go pistol brace rules. It's all just made up from the hip. But we the people haven't held them accountable. So my view is any one of those agencies that's unconstitutionally engaging in that level of overreach, at a certain point in time you can't reform it anymore. Once it becomes part of the culture of the organization, there's one answer: you shut it down. That's the answer with the ATF. So the background checks will move it to the U.S. Marshals.
Is it because they're just not getting challenged on these?
It's because they're not getting challenged, yes, but then it becomes part of the culture. It's like a company or any organization develops its own culture. Then it becomes part of the culture of that bureaucracy. That's the ATF. It's fundamentally hostile to the Second Amendment. That's become the culture. It's not one person. It's the culture of thousands of people working in that building. The same thing at the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. I'll give you a less controversial one. It's hostile to nuclear energy in this country. There hasn't been a new nuclear power plant built for decades since the Nuclear Regulatory Commission was formed. That's the best known form of lasting energy production, and yet we're not competitive in the United States. So I'm saying I'm going to shut down the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. The FBI has been fundamentally hostile to the Constitution. The failed Bureau of Investigation, I've said I'm going to shut it down. Now, this isn't just a slogan. We've got a clear plan for all of this. There's 35,000 employees at the FBI. 20,000 of them are back office bureaucrats at the J. Edgar Hoover building, of all things. That's what they call it. Tells you a lot, in Washington, D.C. We're going to send them packing to find honest work in the private sector. The 15,000 cops, the investigative agents on the front lines, will move them to the U.S. Marshals, which has been far more effective at fighting child sex trafficking rings, or even the fentanyl epidemic in this country, or to the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, the U.S. Treasury, with the expertise to go after the future SBFs and the FTXs, the financial fraudsters of the world. So we will at once improve effectiveness while also addressing the rampant corruption. The Department of Education. I've said I would shut it down, not because I'm against education in this country, but because I am for education in this country, actually. $80 billion, that should be generally in the pockets of parents across this country who can choose where they send their kids to school. A small sliver of that, and this brings it full circle to your first question about shutting down the ATF. What happened in Perry, is familiar with what happened in Perry, in the high school? It's unconscionable. I happened to be in Perry that morning. Met a mother and a father who picked up their daughter from their elementary school, brought her that morning, about an hour after it played out. I had a chance to talk to them. And the first thing he told me is, I know they're going to say, come take my gun. I'm not going to stand for that, even though I'm worried for my daughter's safety. I don't know what I'm going to do. For a tiny fraction of that Department of Education, we are going to ensure the states have funding to put 3 armed security guards in every school across this country. That's how you protect our children. Something happening like it did in Perry, that's unacceptable in this country. 1 security guard per school wouldn't do it, but 3 would. We put more security in our banks and in our malls than we do to protect our most valuable national asset. So some people in the mainstream media will caricature these positions about the FBI or the ATF or about the U.S. Department of Education. I'm shutting down the FBI not because I don't care about the rule of law, but because I do care about the rule of law. I'm shutting down the Department of Education not because I don't care about education, but because I do care about education in this country. And it's going to take a president who is grounded deeply in principle and in the Constitution to be unshakable when they come for you. That is why I'm in this race. I don't see that amongst existing politicians. Donald Trump was the closest thing we had. They duped him, though. That's what happened. They told him, you can't fire these civil service employees because of so-called civil service protections. They told him, you can't shut down agencies because you need actual new laws to do it under certain circumstances. The agency I've told you, the president has the power to shut them down now under existing legal authority. They told him, you can't end birthright citizenship for the kids of illegals in this country because you need a constitutional amendment. Well, read the 14th Amendment. The opening words are clear. It does not apply to those who are here illegally, subject to the jurisdiction thereof, or the magic words. They told him you can't deport those people who are in this country illegally because we only have 6,000 ICE agents, Mr. President. And there are millions who are here illegally. Well, the current law allows the U.S. President and ICE to serve those warrants via local law enforcement. So it goes back to that president who, yes, is an outsider, can break things, but also knows and deeply understands the law. So we're not going to be duped by the people who actually come for us. He rolled over that log, and we saw what crawled out of that swamp. I'm bringing the pesticide, and that's what it's going to take to actually use the existing constitutional authority to shut it down when it comes to that fourth branch of government. And if there's one thing I get done as your next president, and I believe I am the best person suited in the United States of America to do this job, and it's my duty to get in there and do it, is to shut down that deep state, fix that, everything else from reviving this economy to a foreign policy that actually protects this country, that automatically follows. And that's my one commitment I will make to you and keep from the first day we get into office. I don't know if you all, anybody does know who Javier Milei is in Argentina? You know, for those, I'm going to make him look like a moderate in my first 3 months. If I knew that, I haven't done my job. So that's the answer. We're going to come to you, sir.